to the Appalachian Mountains, where the trees whisper warnings and the shadows move when no one's looking. If you've ever wondered what's out there, keep watching.
Mothman. Yeah. But it starts off in 1774.
Oh my gosh.
The Shawnee tribe had formed an alliance with the colonialists, and Chief Cornstalk got this peace treaty, but their treaty was broken because they started taking over more of his land. And so he went to the guy that was in charge. The guy that was in charge put him in a prison with his son so that the Shawnee tribe wouldn't attack the fort.
Yeah.
And while he was being held hostage, there was this American that was killed by a Native American, but it wasn't Shawnee. But these people formed this group and like, we gotta kill Cornstalk. We gotta kill a Shawnee. They went in there, killed his son, killed other Shawnee people that were in this prison, shot Chief Cornstalk 8 times or something. But before he died, he placed a curse on him. He said, "You shot me when I came here in peace, and basically I curse this land. You will forever be haunted."
Scary.
Then we started to see in the 1960s stuff in the same area where Chief Cornstalk was shot. That's where we started seeing appearances.
They say a winged creature with glowing red eyes once terrorized a small West Virginia town and brought death with it. In 1966, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, became the center of fear. For over a year, residents reported a dark figure flying over the treetops, massive wings, red eyes burning in the night, and a body shaped like a man. Couples driving along lonely roads said it chased their car. Hunters swore they saw it perched on rooftops, watching. Then tragedy struck. In December 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed into the icy Ohio River, killing 46 people. Many believed the Mothman was a warning, a harbinger of disaster tied forever to the town's grief. Even today, some locals claim to spot it before tragedies strike, a dark omen no one wants to see. The legend of the Mothman turned Point Pleasant into a place where folklore and fear collide. So tell me, do you think it was just a story?
Did you know that for the Silver Bridge incident in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, witnesses reported seeing a 7-foot-tall figure, gray and brown in color. The creature was often described as similar to a bird because it had no arms and stood on 2 claw-like feet. On its back was a set of wings that, when opened, spanned 10 to 12 feet in width. Perhaps the strangest detail was that the creature had no head and its wide, glowing red eyes were located on its shoulders. The Quincy Hill area of Parkersburg, West Virginia, residents complained to authorities about hearing strange noises on their roof after dark. Strange animal tracks were allegedly found outside the munitions dump. A multitude of witnesses claimed they were followed when driving along rural back roads, their pursuer something not human, large and airborne. Police and media outlets were bombarded with reports.
In my research about the Mothman, I made an eerie and unsettling connection. One of the recurring symptoms that accompany Mothman sightings is the feeling of indescribable fear and dread, confusion mixed with the feeling of grappling with the reality of the impossible creature. It reminded me of the uncanny valley effect, which made me wonder, what exactly is the Mothman? All of the people who witnessed the bizarre creature described similar features and behaviors. Mothman was described as humanoid in stature, gray, around 7 feet tall, with a wingspan of at least 10 feet. And one of the most remarkable characteristics was its huge, glowing red eyes. The details of its face were always difficult to discern. Those who witnessed the Mothman tried to rationalize what they saw in any way they possibly could, but all of the sightings were accompanied by a deep sense of pure, unadulterated terror. The first known encounter with Mothman was on November 15th, 1966, when 2 couples were driving near an abandoned TNT manufacturing facility that had been established during World War II. By 1966, it was mostly a hangout spot for local teens. The car was driven by a man named Roger Scarberry, and in tow were his wife Linda and their 2 friends Steve and Mary Mallett. As they drove past the TNT factory, 2 large, glowing red orbs appeared in the headlights, and they could make out what appeared to be a figure that was at least 7 feet tall with wings folded behind its back. As the car approached the creature, it bolted upward, taking flight, but it didn't flap its wings. That's another thing that's mentioned in all of the sightings. The creature could fly incredibly fast, but it never flapped its wings. Another encounter with the Mothman was had by a resident of Point Pleasant named Connie Carpenter, who stated that as she drove home from church, the massive winged humanoid flew directly at her car, nearly causing her to crash. Many other people shared this experience, getting chased in their cars by the dark flying creature. There are a ton of stories about people witnessing the Mothman, and they all share the same details, including the fact that they hope to never see it again.
In 2016, a man took a picture of this thing in the sky. This is presumed to be the legendary Mothman. The original sighting was in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. The first sighting was in 1966. Over the years, Mothman has gained global attention. After the first Mothman sighting, this is the paper that got published. Under the headline, you can see couple sees man-sized bird, creature, something. During the first ever sighting of Mothman, the couple spotted Mothman near a munitions plant. The woman said Mothman was 7 feet tall with huge wings and red eyes. Now, obviously, this freaked the couple out. They drove away super fast, and apparently Mothman followed them screeching above. It followed them all the way back to Point Pleasant. Over the next few days, a lot of different firemen would also report seeing a big bird with red eyes flying around. Sightings of Mothman became known as a bad omen. In 1967, the Silver Bridge in West Virginia collapsed, killing nearly 50 people. Mothman was sighted right before that. Many other people that had personal catastrophes sighted Mothman before the catastrophe happened. Is Mothman a bad omen? Maybe the Mothman is causing these things to happen. Or maybe Mothman is warning people of doom beforehand. Whatever it is, this picture looks insane. The bent legs on this creature is really off-putting to me.
I had no idea what it was. It was a little bigger than me. Had red glowing eyes, and I was just standing there mesmerized by it.
How tall was it?
It had to have been at least 7 foot tall. I heard stories of winged creatures before. I told my buddies about it, and they mentioned something about a Mothman.
That's entirely possible because there's been a lot of sightings of the Mothman in this part of the country. When people have close-up sightings of him, the eyes is what really gets them. I'm very excited this took place on a bridge because that's the Mothman's portfolio. So I'd really like to see this bridge.
Mark had the sighting of Mothman on this bridge, but the characteristics of it relate back to 1967 and the Silver Bridge collapse. What's scary is to have a sighting of Mothman today. Everybody feels that whenever you see the Mothman, there's tragedy that follows.
Oh, I can see the bridge.
Yep.
Man, that's a unique bridge. They don't build them like that anymore, do they? Mark, we wanted to see your bridge because the Mothman's been seen around bridges so much.
Yeah, I saw that creature sitting right up on top of that rail on the right. He was just kind of crouched on top of that rail, and it just kind of put the fear of God in. That's when he jumped up and glided across.
He just kind of...
Nah, he just kind of disappeared off into the dusk.
Mark didn't have a whole lot of details or facts in this story. The story was very vague, but I think that he was just, a little surprised that, whatever he seen, it was dark.
What do you think about what his wingspan was from where you saw him?
I'm guessing 12, 14 feet wide.
That's pretty big.
Mark, I really appreciate you bringing us out here and spending the time with us.
No problem.
That had to have been one hell of an experience. That's all I have to say.
The truth is, you never really know where you're staying when you rent a cabin in the Smoky Mountains. Several years ago, a young family out of North Carolina decided they wanted to spend Thanksgiving in the Smoky Mountains. The cabin they usually stayed in wasn't vacant, and so they scrambled to find the next best thing, and it ended up being a huge, beautiful cabin in Wares Valley. Little did they know what they would encounter that night would change their lives forever. The lady who submitted this to me is now an adult young woman, but this happened when she was about 8 years old. Upon entering this beautiful cabin, she said immediately there was just a feeling that was off-putting. There were things that made her feel that there were occult-like ties with this place. There was decor that gave off cult vibes, and one of the upstairs bedrooms, she said all of the little single beds were kind of shaped in like a half-moon pattern. When you know, you know. It just gave off weird vibes, and she felt uncomfortable from the beginning. Later in the evening, the mom decided to make her daughter feel better. They would put on their swimsuit to get in the huge jacuzzi tub off the master bedroom. They absolutely enjoyed themselves. The little girl was feeling better. That is until when they decided to get out. The little girl looked out the window, and she seen a creature, what we would think the Mothman looks like. It had glowing red eyes. It had wings. She screams. Her mom sees it. She screams. They run out of the bathroom back into the bedroom. This gets the attention of her dad, who is a no-nonsense type of guy, and he asks what the problem is, and he walks into the bathroom. And she said you have to keep in mind her dad is like a man's man. Like, he's not scared of anything. He would wrestle a black bear if necessary. But he walked in the bathroom. She doesn't know exactly what happened. Well, she does. He looked out the window and seen the same thing. All she remembers is he came back out of the bathroom and he said, "You guys pack your bags, we're leaving." And mind you, this is about 1 a.m. and they're all very tired. They've been in Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg the whole day. And she said they made the 3 to 4 hour trip back home that night. Mothman is most often associated with Point Pleasant, West Virginia. That's where the Mothman Festival is. All the majority of the sightings are. But apparently this guy gets around. Or maybe this is something entirely different, but it shares a striking resemblance, the way she described it, to the Mothman.
I had a similar encounter with a creature in Chuck Swan National Forest. Now, me and my friend John and Josh, we decided that we were going to go camping out near an old graveyard in Chuck Swan. We had gone through in the middle of the night. We had done some investigating. We all decided that it was time to lay down. Josh and John get in their hammocks. I go sit in my truck. And about 4 or 5 in the morning, we hear this loud crash. Like, it hit the top of my truck. And it sounded like somebody dumped water all over it. It was such a weird noise. On the back of my truck, I have a headache bar. I assume it landed on that. It was so loud that John and Josh, both sitting in the hammocks, were afraid to look over. We all got up after we heard it jump off of my truck. We all headed quickly out of that location because whatever hit my truck that night was massive.
It was the middle of the day. And we heard this like loud screeching noise from the woods. And we were like, what the hell was that? And we turn and I can't explain it. It was a giant black form. It looked like it had wings. It came darting out from the trees.
Dude.
It was low. So it ended up hitting like a plastic like picnic chair, knocked it over, went up into the sky, stopped for a second, and then gone.
In Huntington, West Virginia last weekend, there was a flying humanoid sighting. Now, this one is really eerie. There was a younger age man named David sitting in his truck this past Saturday, listening to some music and smoking a cigarette. Well, he notices something kind of moving in the road. And he thinks, oh, it's just a, deer or something, And he notices this thing just is chilling there. It is really not moving. It's just sitting in the road. So he thinks, I'll flash my headlights at it to get it to move out of the road so it doesn't get hit. When he turns on his headlights and illuminates this thing, he sees what he thought was a deer walking on 4 legs stand up and look directly at him. And this creature he described as looking almost like a gargoyle. It looked like sort of a deformed human bent over on 2 legs, hair all over its body, and it had these nails sort of like a sloth. And he said this thing just starts walking towards his truck. And at the same time, his radio all of a sudden just starts emitting static. And he hears a voice say, "David." And the next thing he knows, this flying humanoid, right, it lets off this screeching howl. And out from behind its back comes out these very long wings that looked sort of like a bat. and this thing just flaps its wings and flies off into the night sky. So David, runs inside and is just a little freaked out by what had happened. And he said all of a sudden he just felt very sick, very ill, and he began vomiting. And the whole night he was just really, really sick. And the next day he felt better and he was completely fine. But he said after that sighting, something made him very ill.
These pictures, supposedly taken by a man who says he was driving along State Highway 2 in Point Pleasant, saw something jump from tree to tree. So he pulled off the road to take these pictures.
As a child, Sarah had heard stories about the Mothman. Growing up in the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, she had always thought the tales were just a local legend, a way for the town to just attract tourists and monster hunters. But as she grew older, Sarah began to realize that there was something unsettling about the stories. The way that people spoke about the Mothman was different than the way they talked about other creatures. There was a sense of fear and unease that permeated their words, as though they knew something that she didn't. One night, Sarah was walking home from a friend's house when she saw something moving in the trees. At first, she thought it was a bird, but as it got closer, she realized that it was far larger than any bird she'd ever seen before. The creature had wings like a moth, but its body was humanoid, with long arms and legs and a head that seemed to be covered in fur. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness, and as Sarah watched, it let out a piercing shriek that echoed through the night. Sarah ran as fast as she could, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear the creature behind her, its wings flapping and its claws scraping against the ground. She didn't stop until she was safely inside her house, her parents looking at her with concern. For days, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Every time she went outside, she felt like the creature was there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for her to let her guard down. And then one night it happened. Sarah woke up in the middle of the night to a strange noise outside her window. She opened her eyes, and there, staring at her through the glass, was the Mothman. It had somehow climbed up the side of her house and was perched on the windowsill, its red eyes boring into hers. Sarah tried to scream, but no sound came out. She was paralyzed with fear. The creature opened its mouth and let out a low, rumbling growl. Sarah could feel the vibrations of its voice in her chest, and she knew that it was trying to communicate something to her. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the Mothman was gone, leaving Sarah alone in her room, shaking and sweating. For weeks after that night, Sarah couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the creature's glowing red eyes staring back at her. She tried to tell her parents what had happened, but they just dismissed it as a nightmare. Sarah knew that it wasn't a dream, though. The Mothman was real, and it was out there, watching and waiting for its next victim. And she knew that it was only a matter of time before it came back for her.
Come on, Tom. Come on, swim, man. Swim, Tom, swim. Swim. Oh my God, did you see it? No. No, we've not seen it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wait, what is... Dude. What is... Oh my gosh, dude, did you see that? Thank God you're too bad. That's the same thing we've been seeing. That's it. Let's get out of here. Let's find out what that thing was. Dude, it's right up there, look. Sorry, man. I'm trying to go, like, right now. Oh my God. Now. What? There it is. Dude, do you see it? Do you see it? No, hold on. Dude, if we get this on camera... There it is. That's it. Dude, why does it keep chasing us? I don't know. Oh, my goodness. That is, dude, oh my gosh. It's about to jump in the water. Are you serious? Oh my gosh! Go! What the heck? It's chasing the boat, Tom! Go! Oh my goodness. Go! Go!
Decades ago in the sleepy little town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, something began to manifest. It was called Mothman. Once again, some researcher, some newspaper reporter just assigns a name to this thing. We don't know what it was, but in my opinion, what we were looking at was not demonic. It was, in fact, a fallen angel. There's a man that I interviewed in my book. His name is Lawrence Gray. So this thing manifest at about 3 o'clock in the morning at the foot of his bed. The head was shrunken down, the wings, it had a robe on, and this man obviously was terrified. Lawrence Gray was terrified. And basically, he finally was able to think the name of Jesus. And once he thought the name of Jesus, Mothman just disintegrated and evaporated into nothingness. Mothman was, in my opinion, a fallen angel. It manifested in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and terrorized the local inhabitants. It was not a crane, a sandhill crane, as some researchers say. It was real, and it greatly affected anyone who saw it.
Thanks for watching. If these Appalachian woods gave you chills, make sure to subscribe. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, question everything, and don't follow the sounds in the dark.